The 7 rare archaeological discoveries in history that left scientists speechless. Hello everyone. History always holds secrets that humans cannot even imagine. Although we have history books recording important events, there are mysterious things that can only be uncovered through archaeological discoveries. Excavations from the earth, ancient ruins, and strange artifacts from the era of our ancestors have opened up a completely different world, one that history textbooks find difficult to fully describe. These findings are not only vivid evidence of a past civilization, but also puzzle pieces that help us better understand human evolution. Some discoveries have left scientists astonished, even speechless, because they can't explain everything. Other discoveries not only shed new light on the mysteries of the past, but, at times, they challenge hypotheses that science has long affirmed. So, what rare discoveries have archaeologists made over the years in history? What secrets are hidden behind them? Let's explore together right now. The alien skull box in Mexico. Recently, archaeologists reported that they had discovered many human skulls with strange alien-like shapes at a 1,000-year-old cemetery in Mexico. This cemetery was discovered in 1999 by the residents of Anavas village in Mexico while they were building an irrigation canal. This is the first time a pre-Columbian cemetery has been discovered in Sonora, northern Mexico. The area, also known as El Cementerio, contains a total of 25 burial sites, 13 of which have unusual characteristics. Many of the skulls in these sites were deformed, elongated, and pointed at the back, differing significantly from the skull shapes of modern humans. Additionally, some skulls had teeth that were cut, creating bizarre shapes. It is known that the practice of shaping children's skulls as they grew was quite common in Central America, and these findings suggest that this tradition spread to the northern regions, something scientists had not previously considered. The loss of part of the teeth is linked to the habit of grinding the teeth into strange shapes, while the deformation of the skulls is related to abnormal manipulation during the development of the skull by applying pressure, such as tying wooden boards to the sides of a child's head. Skull deformation was used in many different communities worldwide as a religious ritual or to create social distinctions within or between groups. However, the exact reason why these people in El Cementerio deformed their skulls remains a mystery. Another special feature of this discovery is that among the 25 burial sites, all were of children aged from 5 months to 16 years old. The large number of children's remains in the excavation area suggests that the skull deformation practice may have caused their deaths due to the excessive force applied to the skulls. Archaeologists did not find signs of diseases that could explain these deaths. Notably, while the skull deformation and teeth-cutting rituals were common among Mesoamerican, Mexico and Central America, and Western Mexican communities during the pre-Columbian era, scientists have not found similar sites in Sonora and the southwestern United States, which shared the same pre-Columbian culture. Therefore, researchers have boldly hypothesized that the residents of El Cementerio may have been influenced by migrants from the south. Additionally, the researchers discovered some skeletons with special jewelry, such as earrings, necklaces, and bracelets made of shells and snails from the Gulf of California. One skeleton even had a turtle shell placed on its chest, which could be part of a burial ritual. However, archaeologists are also questioning why some skeletons were buried with these items, while others were not. Another interesting detail is that among the 25 skeletons found, only one was female. This raises questions about the role of women in the society of these people, as they were rarely present in the cemetery. This question remains unanswered to this day. However, with these findings, archaeologists hope to continue excavating more parts of the cemetery in future studies. They expect to gather more information to clarify the relationship between the residents of El Cementerio and the ancient Mesoamerican communities. And perhaps deeper research in the future will help us better understand the culture and burial practices of the people who lived in this area over 1,000 years ago. The Giant Wombat Cemetery. Recently, scientists made another fascinating discovery when they announced the finding of the largest known cemetery of the Diprotodon, a giant extinct marsupial that went extinct around 50,000 years ago. This cemetery is located in Queensland, Australia, and contains at least 20 skeletons of this species, with the most notable being the skeleton of a giant wombat named Kenny. Kenny is one of the most well-preserved fossilized wombats, with a jawbone measuring up to 27.5 inches in length, showcasing the grandeur and strength of this species. For those who don't know, the Diprotodon was the largest marsupial ever to exist, weighing as much as 6,200 pounds, equivalent to the weight of a modern rhinoceros. This species once roamed Earth from 50,000 to 2 million years ago, wandering across Australia during prehistoric periods. They were massive creatures with huge bodies and are believed to have fed on grasses and low-lying plants. However, after the emergence of modern humans, coupled with climate change, the Diprotodon gradually went extinct. Therefore, the discovery of this cemetery has helped scientists better understand the extinction process of these giant marsupials. Mr. Scott Hocknull, the lead excavator and researcher at the Queensland Museum, explained that by studying the wombat fossils found in this cemetery, the research team will recreate the environmental model in which this species lived. More importantly, they will investigate the primary causes that led to the environmental changes affecting the Diprotodon. Scientists suspect that climate change played a major role in altering the wombat's habitat, making it difficult for them to adapt to the sudden shifts in climate and environment. Furthermore, the rise of humans, with their hunting abilities and resource exploitation, might have driven the wombats, along with other species, out of their habitats and food sources. If this is true, the discovery of this giant wombat cemetery will undoubtedly be significant in understanding extinct species and could help scientists uncover one of the biggest mysteries in natural history: the extinction causes of large prehistoric animals. It also offers insights into the impacts of humans and climate change on animals in the past, providing valuable lessons for today's wildlife and ecosystem conservation efforts. Human brain tissue preserved for 10,600 years. In April 2012, a truly remarkable archaeological discovery shocked the scientific community when British researchers announced they had found a 20,600-year-old brain tissue belonging to a man from the Stone Age. What was surprising was that this brain tissue was incredibly well preserved, despite no artificial preservation methods being applied. The discovery was made near the village of Heslington, an area that was once home to a man who lived around 673 to 482 BC. As the man's body began to decompose, other body parts such as flesh and hair completely decomposed and disappeared, but a small portion of his brain tissue remained intact to this day. This is an extremely rare phenomenon in nature, as brain tissue typically begins to decompose immediately after death. It's important to note that since 2008, researchers from the York Archaeological Trust had excavated the skull of this prehistoric man at the archaeological site in Heslington, but it wasn't until 2012 that they publicly announced the finding, as this was one of the oldest human brain tissue samples discovered in the UK. Normally, after death, brain tissue decomposes quickly due to the fact that the brain is composed of 80% water and various proteins that contribute to the destruction of cellular structures when life ends. Soft tissues like the brain can only be preserved if artificial interventions like drying, freezing, or storage in an anaerobic or acidic environment are applied. However, in this case, the prehistoric brain from Heslington defied this natural decomposition process. After months of researching the proteins in the brain tissue, a team of international scientists finally gathered enough evidence to explain this extraordinary natural preservation. Dr. Axel Petzold, the lead researcher, stated, "The proteins in this man's brain helped bind the tissue and protect it from decomposition. They helped maintain the brain tissue and made it more durable over time, even more so than DNA. Typically, proteins are concentrated in the white matter of the brain, but in this case, the proteins were unusually dense in the gray matter, which is an odd and exceptional phenomenon." The dried blood of King Louis XVI. On January 21, 1793, King Louis XVI of France was executed by guillotine during the French Revolution. This event not only marked the end of a monarchy, but also became a pivotal moment in history. Legend has it that when the 39-year-old king's head fell to the ground, witnesses quickly retrieved it and dipped their handkerchiefs into his blood as a way of keeping a memento of the revolution. Over the centuries, this story became more than just a legend when scientists discovered a dried gourd containing a blood-stained handkerchief belonging to Louis XVI. This gourd later became a valuable artifact, depicted with portraits of revolutionary heroes and an inscription that reads, On January 21st, Maximilien Bourdaloue dipped his handkerchief into the blood of Louis XVI after his execution. According to the legend, Bourdaloue placed the handkerchief inside the gourd and had it decorated. This item became a historical relic, but it was later kept by a family in Italy for over a decade. Recently, scientists from France and Spain studied this gourd and made some surprising discoveries. By analyzing the blood sample inside the gourd, they found genetic markers that match descriptions of Louis XVI, including blue eyes. However, since there are no DNA samples from Louis XVI's descendants for comparison, the confirmation is not completely certain. The study took an important step further when they discovered genetic links between the blood in the gourd and a mummified head belonging to King Henry IV, an ancestor of Louis XVI. Through gene comparison, the research team established a genealogical connection between Louis XVI and King Henry IV, even though they were separated by 7 generations. Both shared a rare genetic marker, which is compelling evidence that the blood in the gourd could indeed belong to Louis XVI. This finding supports the hypothesis that these items are not only revolutionary relics, but also important artifacts from the French royal family. Additionally, the study revealed an interesting story about the head of King Henry IV, who was assassinated in 1610 at the age of 57. For 2 centuries, his head was bought and sold at auctions or kept in private collections. It wasn't until 2010 that scientists found evidence confirming the head belonged to Henry, using identification features consistent with 16th century portraits of the king, alongside carbon dating, 3D scans, and X-rays. However, the 2010 study lacked DNA evidence, and its findings were met with some skepticism. All of this changed when Carles Lalueza Fox, the co-author of the new study and a researcher at the Institut de Biologia Evolutiva in Barcelona, said that the evidence collected increased the likelihood by 250 times that the owner of the head and the blood in the gourd were related. He further stated that by synthesizing forensic evidence, historical data, and folklore, it would be surprising if these artifacts didn't belong to the 2 kings who were murdered. The data obtained from Louis XVI can now be used to decode his genetic makeup and help locate any living relatives of the last king of France. Mummified child who ate cactus before being sacrificed. Thousands of years ago, a child in Peru was sacrificed in an ancient ritual and beheaded as a war trophy. Analysis of the hair samples from the child's head revealed that the victim had consumed hallucinogenic plants before death. Specifically, a team of experts led by Dagmara Socha from the Andes Research Center at the University of Warsaw, Poland, excavated the remains as part of the Nazca Project, an archaeological program that began in 1982. While the child's gender and age at death remain unknown, they reported that the child had eaten the Echinopsis pachanoi cactus, a spiny plant containing potent hallucinogens, which was commonly used by Native American peoples for medicinal and ritualistic purposes. The child's intact head was one of 22 remains associated with the Nazca Society that was studied in the research. All of the individuals lived during the pre-Columbian era, from 3500 BC to AD 476, and were buried near the southern coastal region of Peru. Socha stated, "This intact head represents the first known case of an individual who consumed Echinopsis pachanoi cactus living along the southern coast of Peru. It is also the first evidence showing that some sacrificial victims were forced to ingest psychoactive substances before their deaths." Additionally, in the study, Socha and her team collected hair samples from 4 trophy heads, 3 of which belonged to adults, and 18 mummies of both adults and children. Upon examining these samples, archaeologists discovered that many of the individuals had consumed hallucinogens such as Echinopsis pachanoi cactus, coca leaves, which contain cocaine, and Banisteriopsis caapi, which contains harmine, the main ingredient in ayahuasca, a well-known hallucinogenic drink used by indigenous Amazonian peoples. These compounds were used in the Nazca civilization from around 100 BC to AD 450. Although researchers have found much evidence suggesting that these plants were used for medicinal and religious rituals, the widespread use of such stimulants in Nazca culture has not yet been fully understood. Mummified eyes, open in Egypt. Egyptian archaeologists recently made an important discovery when they found the mummified remains of a woman who lived approximately 2,300 years ago in the Bahariya oasis, located in the Libyan desert. This area is about 186 miles southwest of Cairo, Egypt's capital, and is rich in ancient ruins, including tombs and mummies. The archaeological team uncovered a total of 14 tombs, with the woman's mummified remains found in one of them. Experts believe that this woman lived during the Greco-Roman period, a time of great upheaval in Egypt's history when Greek culture began to significantly influence the region. The coffin, made of finely carved limestone and measuring approximately 3.3 feet in length, was intricately decorated and depicted a woman dressed in Roman-style attire, complete with a long cloak, headscarf, bracelets, necklace, and shoes. Additionally, 2 gemstones were placed in the eye sockets of the coffin, creating the illusion that the mummy's eyes were still open, a unique feature in the burial customs of ancient Egyptians. Zahi Hawass, Secretary General of the Supreme Council of Antiquities in Egypt, suggested that this mummy belonged to a woman, possibly young or of small stature. This discovery adds to the mystery of her life during the Greco-Roman period, a time marked by a blending of Egyptian and Greek cultures. The excavation also unearthed many valuable artifacts, including coins, glass vials, pottery, masks, and a piece of gold featuring depictions of the 4 sons of the god Horus, an important deity in ancient Egyptian beliefs. The ancient Egyptians believed that the 4 sons of Horus were responsible for protecting key organs in the body of the mummy, such as the liver, lungs, stomach, and intestines. It is known that the Bahariya oasis is not the first place where mummies have been discovered. In 1996, archaeologists found 17 tombs containing 254 mummies in this region, further solidifying its significance as a burial site in ancient Egypt. This discovery also serves as a reminder of the Greco-Roman era in Egypt, which began with the conquest of Alexander the Great in 332 BCE. While Alexander was the king of Macedonia, his rule over Egypt can be seen as the rule of the Greeks for 2 main reasons. Firstly, the Macedonians were essentially Greek, with 90% of their vocabulary derived from Greek, and secondly, most of the officials governing Egypt were Greek, and Egypt was heavily influenced by Greek culture under Alexander. After Alexander's death in 323 BCE, his empire quickly collapsed, and Egypt returned to the control of its own people. Therefore, I believe that this recent discovery of the mummy serves as a vivid testament to the cultural and religious exchanges between civilizations, and it helps us better understand the lives of ancient Egyptians during such a crucial period in history. 2,000-year-old treasure at an ancient fortress. In a research report published in the journal Ancient Civilizations from Scythia to Siberia, the team of authors revealed that they had found more than 200 coins, mostly made of bronze, along with countless pieces of jewelry made of gold, silver, and bronze, as well as glass vases, inside an ancient fortress in the Artesian settlement of Crimea. Covering an area of 1.3 hectares, Artesian was a settlement with its own cemetery, belonging to the Bosporan kingdom. At that time, the fate of the kingdom was torn by a dispute between 2 brothers, Mithridates VIII, who sought independence from Rome, and his brother Codus I, who supported the kingdom remaining a client state of the growing empire. Rome sent an army to assist Codus, allowing him to take control of the Bosporan capital and burn settlements under Mithridates' control, including Artesian. The residents gathered in the fortress to protect themselves from the Roman invasion, but researcher Nikolai Vinokurov, a professor at Moscow State Pedagogical University, believes that they anticipated their tragic end. He stated, "We believe that these treasures were part of a sacrificial ritual for a funeral. Clearly, they knew they would die soon after." What is particularly intriguing is that each buried treasure contained exactly 55 coins minted by Mithridates VIII. This could either be a mere coincidence or perhaps the same amount of money paid by those supporting Mithridates to the owners of the tombs. It is known that Vinokurov's research team has been studying Artesian since 1989, and they have discovered that the residents of this settlement followed a distinctly Greek culture, despite their ethnically mixed background. The Greeks had established colonies in the Black Sea region centuries earlier, intermarrying with the Crimeans. The customs and artistic forms they introduced seem to have become deeply ingrained over generations, despite the nearly 621 miles distance from Greece. Greek influence is clearly visible in the treasures buried by the Artesian people. For example, a silver brooch depicting Aphrodite, the Greek goddess of love, and gold rings with gemstone faces featuring two other Greek gods, Nemesis and Tyche, were found. When archaeologists excavated other parts of the burned area, they uncovered more evidence of a Greek-style way of life. All of this was destroyed by the Romans, but later rebuilt by Codicillion after being installed as king by Rome. However, the discovery of the treasures from the earlier residents has yet to be fully explored, and it stands as a testament to their desperate resistance against the growing power of Rome. Dear friends, from ancient civilizations to mysterious mummies, each discovery mentioned above holds unanswered questions and continues to astonish scientists. These findings not only change the way we view the past, but they also fuel further research and exploration, pushing the boundaries of human knowledge. So, which discovery do you find most impressive among those mentioned? Feel free to share your thoughts by leaving a comment below, and don't forget to give the channel a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. For now, goodbye and see you again soon.